Can you identify this card at a glance? If you can, you're a bigger nerd than I expected. Hey guys, Joe here, and what you're looking at is an EVGA. You can see maybe ghosted in there, the E. EVGA GTX 460. I took the stickers off because I didn't like them. I think they're gaudy, and I plan on doing something to this thing anyways. However, this is not the standard 1GB model. This must have been the pre-built partner program card, is the only way I can think of to put it, because this piece of junk has a whopping 768 megs of GDDR5 RAM. At least it's GDDR5, so it's still better than like a 3GB GDDR3 card. However, that means that it's underclocked compared to its 1GB brethren. It doesn't run as well, and quite frankly, it surprised me. The reason it surprises me so much is because I pulled it out of this computer, and not that computer, this computer from the card, and I had another card in another computer from the same builder, and that one was a GTS 450, but it had a full 1GB card. So the guy went with the cheapest possible products he could get, charged my friend way too much money, and gave him junk. Because don't forget, this was in 2015 when he built this computer for him, and this is a GTS frickin' 460, which is, I think, a 6-year-old card now, maybe even more than that, because the 660 came out in 2012. So yeah, this is probably a 2011 card, which is frickin' amazingly horrible. Let's go over the specs. It has 338 CUDA cores. It has a 720 megahertz base clock, because obviously this is not the 1GB version, which was 738, and a 1800 megahertz memory clock, which is almost 100 megahertz lower than the 1GB card. I did overclock the card using MSI Afterburner, and I was able to get a stable 926 megahertz boost clock on the core and a 1952 on the memory. It's not very often that you get a better boost on the core clock than you do the memory, but again, this is a lower bin card and it uses crappier chips probably comparatively to the better cards. Taking a look around the card itself, you can see it's the pretty typical 450, 460, 470 design, and it doesn't look bad, especially when you take the stickers off, because in the early 2010s, for some reason they were putting gaudy looking stickers on all the shrouds, and it just looks stupid. I took the sticker off, and funny enough, printed on the card's shroud is the GeForce logo, which looked better than the EVGA logo, so I'm leaving that there. This does use a dual 6-pin connector because it requires a 400-watt power supply, and it did okay, to be completely honest with you. I will give you some numbers now. In Grand Theft Auto 5, it actually averaged about 55 frames per second in 1080p. Now, when I do my testing on Grand Theft Auto 5, I do it twice. I do it using the benchmarking utility, but then I also jump into the story mode and go into downtown and start blowing stuff up. I use the same basic area and same weapons every time, so it does give me a pretty good idea of in-game playability. And those numbers were taken from that. The benchmark was a little bit higher, but I don't trust that since it's pre-rendered. Yeah. Moving on to CSGO, and the 460 is where you can see a big generational gap. Obviously, there's the 5 series, which I need to retest, but the 4 series was still able to pull off 160 frames per second at the stock 720 megahertz clock. That wasn't too bad. I was happy with that. And overclocked, I got it to actually average 185 frames per second with a spike to 211 for the high. Not bad at all. Totally playable, and if you play an older game that uses a much easier to render game engine, you're going to have a similar experience. Obviously, trying to run a AAA title on 700 megabytes of RAM doesn't work really well. But when you pair it with a amazingly underwhelming processor like the i3-2120 that's in there, you're going to wind up with a system that actually does okay for what it is. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take out that old 8400 GS, throw this thing in there, and maybe turn it on and we can listen to it scream for its life. I really do wish I had a better fan solution for this case, but I can tell you for one thing, I definitely have positive pressure going on because, my goodness, there's a lot of airflow through there. Yeah! So I thought I would end this video with a little bit of meta-ness. As you can see, I'm actually editing the video for this card, and I forgot to film the card after I'd painted it. As you can see, I just used some satin red and basically duplicated the colors that are in the H440 so that it will perfectly match it when it's installed in that system. I think it came out well. Final thoughts. Would I recommend this card? Absolutely not. There's no reason to buy this card unless you absolutely need something for an emergency. Let's say that you overclocked a 970, 1070, 1080, whatever the case may be, and you screwed up and you need to remove the drivers. Well, guess what? You need a graphics card to do it. Then it would serve its purpose. If you're just testing old junk systems, then it serves its purpose. If you want to take like an old Dell full desktop and maybe make it survive a little bit longer so you can play things like Overwatch or CSGO, then it might work. But there are much better options out there, of course, currently. This is an 8-year-old card. I do not recommend this card to anybody. Go buy a 1030. You can get a 1030 for around 80 bucks. Or you can even get the EVGA super clocked one like I used to have, and you can get that for a reasonable price, and that has 2 gigabytes of GDDR5. It's on Pascal, and it worked better. So that's my conclusion for this video. I just did the video because I had the card, and I eventually want to have a card from every series, because why not? If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Wow, I'm holding it at a weird angle so the camera seems to be twerking itself. Twerk, twerk, twerk. But yeah, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, which is probably over there or over there. I don't know. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.